everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me MG if you would like, and today I have for you a new Let's Binge a Book series reading vlog. I feel like it's been a minute since I've done one of these, so we're back, and the series I will be binging is the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman. I have not read these books before, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also very excited to read these. I know that the first book, The Golden Compass, was a Nostalgia Train book club pick. It was a December, I remember that much. Was it 2021? It might have been the first year of the book club, in which case, wow, I need to get on this because I meant to read it for that time and I didn't because I didn't have access then. But back in September of last year, I went to a thrift store and I found books 2 and 3 there, and my boyfriend so graciously bought them for me as a celebration of publishing my own book gift. And I later found book 1 online for very cheap to complete the set, and now I have these gorgeous editions and I haven't read them yet, so I'm gonna be doing that. I don't know much about this because on top of never having read them before, I've never seen the movie, or I believe there was a TV miniseries adaptation. No idea. The most exposure I've had to this series is when I was in middle school. 2 of my classmates were very big into it. They loved the movie, they loved the books, and I know these characters have these, what are they called? I don't even know, and this doesn't have a summary. That's cool. It literally just says this was published in 1996 and it's the first book in the trilogy. Cool. Love that. But if I'm remembering correctly, and it's not some complete other series that these 2 girls were obsessed with, the characters in this world have like their soul outside of their body, and it like manifests in the form of an animal, and these 2 girls like made up their own like versions of that and like pretended that they had these. It was middle school. You know what middle school girls do, they make stuff up and have all these stories and stuff. I thought it was really fun, even though I had no idea what they were doing, but like that's stuck in my head through all these years, and now I finally get to experience it in reading these books. And I know it's also like an alternate history kind of fantasy. There's a polar bear at some point. That's pretty much all I know. So I will be starting with The Golden Compass, of course, as it's the first book. Today is May 8th. It is almost 7 p.m. I'm actually going to be eating dinner soon, but later on tonight, before I go to bed, I will be starting this book, and I really can't wait. I'm very excited to get to this. But now that I've been rambling, I will let you go for this first clip, and I will see you once I have made progress in this book and have something to talk to you about. Hello friends, it is the 9th at about 4 p.m. and I'm currently streaming, so if you see me looking over to the side, it's because I want to make sure that even though I know my mic is muted, I'm paranoid that I'm not muted, so I want to make sure I don't like disrupt people because we're in the middle of a sprint. Also, you might hear my really loud computer in the background. Okay, that comment wasn't telling me that they could hear me speak. I'm here to update you on Golden Compass because I'm currently at the end of part 1. Part 1, if I can open to it, it's called Oxford. And let me just say the font choices in this book, stunning. Also at the beginning of each chapter, there's like a little picture and I love it. and I'm still paranoid that they're gonna hear me talk. My mic is muted. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm about 160 pages in because that's the end of part 1. There are 3 parts. Part 1 is called Oxford because that's where our main character, Lyra, unsure, it's Lyra, she lives at Oxford. Her uncle is this man called Lord Asriel, and he comes by the college that she lives at. She lives at Jordan College, and he just comes by every couple of months or whatever, and then goes off gallivanting on his adventures and leaves her to live at this college. And all of the people here have these things called daemons. It's D and then the letter that's an A-E squished together, and I don't know how it's pronounced, but it looks like it would be an A to me, so daemons. And they're like physical manifestations of people's souls, I think. And the daemons of children can like change shape from different animals, but when they reach adulthood, they kind of solidify into one animal, and I think that's pretty cool. I like that feature of it. There's a lot of weird things that I didn't expect in this book, though. Like, there's ghosts. Didn't realize that. More comments are coming in. People are chatting, and it's making me nervous. Yeah, so there's ghosts. Weird. There is pretty much the exact amount of racism that I expected from a fantasy book in the 90s. There's this group of people that I will not say what they're called because it's too similar to the slur that is used against the real life counterparts that is used today. The word that they use here is Egyptians without the E, which is, I'm assuming these people are based on the Romani people, which have a slur that most people don't even realize is a slur. And it's what they call them, but that's not a word that people should use, so I'm not going to use it. And it's like, it's not the worst depiction of a fantasy equivalent of that group of people that I've seen, but it's still weird, and I don't get why people do it like this, but they're like a main feature of this book. And the basic premise is that children are going missing, and this group of people are going to go after the gobblers, or what the like colloquial term for these child snatchers are, to get their children back. And Lyra's tagging along with them because 1, her friend is missing, like has been taken. 2, her uncle, she learns, has been put in prison. And 3, they're going north to do this, and she just really wants to see the north. There's also this thing called dust with a capital D, which is kind of like magical particles. This book has like a weird blend of sci-fi and fantasy that I'm digging a lot. I really love that. And I know Philip Pullman's other series is called The Book of Dust, and I'm curious as to how they relate, because I didn't realize that the 2 series had anything to do with each other. But yeah, that's basically what's happened now. The name of part 2 is Bolvanger. Not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but I'm curious just to see what that is and where things go on. This is a bit denser of a writing style than I expected, so it is taking me longer to get through each chapter than I would have thought that it would, but I don't mind it because I'm still having a good time, and I'm like, it's okay if a book takes me longer than I thought. I do like getting through books quickly, but that's not the most important part here. The most important part is that I enjoy the books. So I'm going to get back to reading this, and I will see you when I finish part 2. Hello friends, it is 9 p.m. on Friday the 10th, I believe. I'm so bad at keeping track of what date it is. I know it's Friday, I'm pretty sure it's the 10th, and I have finished part 2 of The Golden Compass, which, before we get into things, I just want to say the Golden Compass is kind of a misnomer because it's not a compass that this book is named after. It's an a lithiometer, which is this thing that kind of looks like a compass. It's like a big gold disc with 36 images around the outside and 4 like needles sticking out. And Lyra uses this to kind of like divine information. So, not a compass, but I guess it's close enough that we'll let it slide. Um, as you can see, I am here. I'm just past page 300. I think I'm on page like 305. And there are 399 pages in this book, so I have less than 100 pages to go. This section, absolutely wild. So we meet Yorick, who is an armored bear. I believe they're called Panzerbjorn? Panserbjo with the slash through it. I don't know what that letter is called. RN. So I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I hope I did. And he's an armored bear. It's just a bear that wears armor and can talk, and he also has opposable thumbs, and he does like metal work. And most of the armored bears work at, if I open up, part 3 is called Svalbard, which is the name of a prison, I think, or at the very least, there's a prison at Svalbard, which is where Lord Asriel is being kept prisoner, and most of the armored bears work there, but not Yorick. He was doing some other stuff, and Lyra and her friends kind of like help him out of that situation, so now he's on their side. They're also joined by this guy, Lee. Was that his name? They kind of just call him the aeronaut most of the time. Yeah, Lee Scoresby. He's a dude from Texas, because you have to remember that this series takes place not in our world, but in a world that is like our own. And in this world, Texas is its own like kingdom, and that's where Lee is from, and he's got a big balloon to travel in, and that's why he's an aeronaut. And him and Yorick are friends. It's so funny. There's so much that happens. They are traveling north still, so they're in this like tundra-y area, and Lyra finds where all of these kidnapped children have been taken to, and finds out that these people are doing like experiments on them. Namely, they are severing the connection between the child and the daemon, which is kind of a terrible thing considering daemons are these children's souls. Absolutely wild. And it has to do with dust, but no one's really sure what the connection is there. We also meet witches in this section. Witches are like humans in that they have daemons, but their daemons can travel far away from them and kind of like be independent a little bit, whereas humans and their daemons can't like be separated a physical distance very far. It like will physically pain them, the human and the daemon. Witches also live like an insanely long time, so it's unclear if they're humans that like do something to become witches, or if they're like an entirely different species that's just like humans. I'm not sure. But yeah, Lyra has a run-in with Mrs. Coulter, who is like the head of these people who've been stealing children, and all this stuff happens. We do get to rescue Lyra's friends who have been taken, so that's pretty fun. Roger's there. We meet a second child named Tony, which is not a name I expected in this book, but Tony, the first one we meet, is the older brother of one of the kids who had been taken, and the second Tony we meet is a boy who had his daemon cut from him, and they find him wandering the tundra, and he dies shortly thereafter. But yeah, didn't expect a Tony, let alone 2 Tonys to show up. It's definitely unexpected. Yeah, so much stuff happens, and I'm having a really great time. I wouldn't say this is like a favorite book, but I'm definitely really enjoying it. It's still kind of a slow read because it's quite dense, and like the world building is kind of just thrown at you. You're not really eased into the weirdness, but sometimes books are like that, and I don't think that's a bad thing in this case. It's just taking me a little bit longer to get used to what's happening, and sometimes I have to reread a passage to understand what's going on. But yeah, like I said, I have less than 100 pages to go, so I'm hoping I can finish this tomorrow. I'm so excited to see what else happens because they're going to this place to hopefully rescue Lord Asriel, and I want to see what happens. And then there's 2 more books after that. Man, this is wild. I'm very glad that I am finally getting around to reading this because I feel like this is a book that so many people read when they're kids, and if not, they've at least seen the movie. I've had none of that, and now as an adult, I'm finally getting that experience, and it's a pretty good one. So I'm going to get ready for bed because I'm quite tired and I have kind of a bit of a headache. It was way worse earlier, but I took some medicine, ate some food, and I'm feeling quite better, but still not great. So I don't think I'm going to do any more reading tonight. I might. We'll see after I finish getting ready for bed. I might snuggle in here and do some reading, but if not, I will just pick this book up tomorrow morning and continue on. So I will see you then. Hello friends, I'm sorry if the lighting is kind of weird in this clip. The light above my desk has burnt out, which I think I've explained in this vlog. If not, there you go. The light above my desk is burned out, so it's kind of weird here for now. It is just past 1 p.m. on Saturday the 11th, and I've finished The Golden Compass. This book, absolutely insane. I was having a really good time, as I've explained in my clips, like the whole way through. I was really enjoying it, but this last part, this last little section, especially the final like 3-4 chapters, blew me away. I am so fully invested in this, and I cannot wait to start reading The Subtle Knife, which is part 2. It's much smaller, so this is 399 pages, and this one is, if I can get past the bonus content that we get, 326. So not a lot shorter, but definitely shorter. For now, we'll talk about the one that I actually read. I'm like kind of sad because apparently, well, you can see my like laptop charger wire in the corner. That's weird. Whatever. There was this like geomagnetic storm or something going on, so that last night people all over the place, and like especially in the United States, could see the aurora borealis, and I just had no idea, which like I probably wouldn't have been able to see it well anyway because A, I live in a city and light pollution sucks, and B, it was very cloudy and rainy all night, so like that would have affected vision. But still, I woke up this morning and all my friends were posting pictures, like friends that live elsewhere in the country and like in other countries, and I'm like, what the heck is this? If you didn't know, The Golden Compass in some places was published under the name Northern Lights because it's kind of a huge deal in this book. And like, the fact that I potentially could have seen it last night while reading this book, I'm so upset that I missed that opportunity. Apparently, you like have a slight chance, or I guess we here where I'm at have a slight chance of seeing it tonight. Probably not. I'll keep an eye out, but I don't have my hopes up. That would have been so cool. Anyway, though, this book is so good. I wouldn't call it a 10 out of 10 because it is just so bizarre, but like, I'm giving it a strong 9. It's like potentially going on my favorites shelf. This book has made me realize that I genuinely love portal fantasy. That's not something that I would have considered like a favorite before now, but I'm thinking and I'm like, yeah, I really love portal fantasy. Now the sun is coming out and being weird. But I think this would look and like vibe well on the shelf with my Siri Pedersen books, because her series Raven Rings is portal fantasy. I think I would also want to put the Mirror Visitor series by Christelle Dabos with them, because even though that's not technically portal fantasy, I feel like it has similar vibes. I don't know, in my head these three series just kind of click together. I think my Cornelia Funk books would go there too, because most of her stuff is portal fantasy. I don't know, I'm kind of just blabbering on about things that this book has made me thought of and not actually talking about the book itself. But I feel like I've said all that I can. This edition is still so beautiful. I really love it. Yeah, I had a great time. I really enjoyed this book and I'm so glad I finally read it. So now I will be starting The Subtle Knife, which is this beautiful purple color. So this one is blue, this one's purple, and then book 3 is like a tannish brown color, and it's the same underneath the dust jacket. Although this is more pink than the outside. Like this is a very purple, and then the book itself is quite pink, but that doesn't bother me. I think it's still absolutely stunning. I am going to crack into this tonight, and I cannot wait. I will see you at some point. Let's see. I'm assuming there's parts in this book as well. There's not. What the heck? Book 1 is split into 3 parts, and this one is just a bunch of chapters. That's disappointing. So I will have to find my own breakpoints to come update you, but I guess I'll see you whenever I find one of those. Hello everybody. First of all, I apologize for the weird sound in the background of this clip. I have my big computer on because it is 5:45 on the 12th, and I'll be streaming at the top of the hour, so I had to turn on my computer to set all that up, but I'm hopping on here real quick to give you an update because I am now halfway through The Subtle Knife, and this book is kind of a wild ride. I mean, the first one is, but this one even more so. So we do still follow Lyra, our main character, but we have several other people we're following. We, in the first chapter, are introduced to Will, who is a boy about Lyra's age, and he is on the run from these men who have been trying to get these letters from his mom, who she has some mental issues, she's not really all there, and so he leaves her with this trusted individual to watch over her while he runs off with these letters so these weird men don't get them, and he accidentally kills one of them. Like, this first chapter, so much happens. But these letters have to do with his dad, who was an Arctic explorer, and he disappeared. So there's all of that, and this is taking place in, like, our actual world. That's where Will is from, and he ends up discovering this window, is what he calls it, into another world, and it's in this other world that he meets Lyra, but it's not her world either. It's this universe that's in between our world and the world that we are in during the first book, and he and Lyra are in this city called Cittàgazze? Something like that? It's whatever it is, it's clearly an Italian-inspired place. But it's the City of Magpies, and we are introduced to 2 new things there. First of all, they're angels, which I don't completely understand just yet. We haven't seen them a lot, but we also learn about specters, because in this world, there's this Tower of Angels, and it was like this scholarly place, and there's like rumors that they're the reason these specters came, and children can't see specters, but adults can, and those who can see specters can also be attacked by them. So whenever the specters show up, the adults like run and go hide, and the children are the only ones in the city right now. Very strange. We also have some chapters following Lee, the aeronaut from the first book, as well as Seraphina, who is a witch, and it's just a lot of threads throughout, and I can kind of see how they're all piecing together, but they haven't quite come together yet, because even though I am halfway through this book so far, there's not a ton of, like, coming together. Like, I feel like that's gonna happen in the second half, because things have to come together at some point, but there are all of these separate threads that are so bizarre, but like I'm so curious as to how they all come together. In the regular world, our world, Lyra meets this doctor who she is studying dark matter, which she calls shadow particles or shadows, based on the like shadows on the cave wall thing. I think that's Plato that said something like that. I don't really know. But they are basically just the same thing as dust from the first book, and it's just a lot of really interesting things that I'm very excited to see how it all plays out, because I have some ideas, but not a lot. And like, I'm not a very scientifically minded person, so my ideas probably aren't correct, but I'd be excited if they were. We haven't seen Lord Asriel, but we have heard about him. The witches are trying to find him, and one witch in particular, I don't remember her name, she was traveling with Seraphina, who is the main witch, but they've split off, and Seraphina is now talking to this one dude about angels and specters and all that, and the other witch has gone to follow these angels who she thinks are going to find Lord Asriel, and this witch also like used to have a fling with him at one point, so I don't know what's going on there. It's weird, but yeah, I'm not going to read more right now. During my stream I will be doing my journaling stuff, and then I have an episode of Secret Sleepover Society Plays Bloodborne to watch, so that's going to take a couple of hours, but I will probably kick out another few chapters tonight before bed, and I don't think it would be impossible for me to finish this tomorrow. I think that's very well within the realm of possibilities, so looking forward to that. I will see you hopefully tomorrow, if not just whenever I do end up finishing this book, because it is quite short, so it shouldn't be too long, but yeah, I'll see you guys then. Hello friends, it is 8:30 a.m. on Monday, and I'm very cold right now, so if I'm like shaking, it's because I'm shivering, but I have finished The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, book 2 in the series. I almost read this whole thing yesterday. I saved the last 2 chapters for this morning because I was tired and had to go to bed. It was like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, maybe I should sleep. So the last, I'd say 35 pages I saved for this morning, and I just read them. Tell me why it had me crying. You can't tell now because I had a moment and calmed myself down, but the first of the 2 chapters I read, a character I really liked died, and it was hard to get through. Like, it was emotional. Wow. The other chapter, a different character died, and it's not one that I had any like particular affinity for, but it was also heartbreaking in a different way, and like, wow, what a way to start my morning. The second half of this book I enjoyed a lot more than the first half. I feel like this happens a lot with sequels in Portal Fantasy, where the first chunk of the book will be kind of hard to get through and confusing because you're thrown into these new worlds and usually you meet new characters and it's just a little bit jarring. And I definitely felt that with this, but once we got into things, I was loving it. I understand those two girls that I knew in middle school who were obsessed with this series. If I had read this when I was in middle school, I would have been right there with them. So, like, Sophia, Chloe, you're out there. I understand you now. um, yeah, I kind of wish I'd read all of it in one day because that's. I know it's not like an achievement really, but like it's something cool, I think, to be so engrossed in a book that you're just dedicating yourself to it for an entire day. I really do see the what is it called? Paradise Lost coming through here because like from the beginning of book 1 that this is a series with major religious overtones. Like one of the overarching structures is literally just called the church, and God is referred to as the authority, and like all this stuff. And I didn't remember until I was reading this that I've seen online people say that this is kind of a retelling of Paradise Lost, kind of a like subversion of what happens. If you don't know, Paradise Lost is a giant epic poem by John Milton. I know the last name is Milton, might not be John, but I think it is. Um, Detailing the betrayal of Lucifer and his fall from heaven, and it's really good. I read it when I was in college, and I enjoy Paradise Lost, and I'm really starting to see the parallels here. We've got a lot more of the religion coming in this book, and I'm so excited to see where the last book goes. It's quite chunky. It's over 500 pages, which, like, I love me a chunky book. However, that's also a little bit intimidating because it is a big book. It is the last book in a series, and I am very busy this week. So I'm gonna try and like get it in the next couple of days because most of my busyness doesn't come until the end of the week, but um yeah, I'm just a little bit worried that I'm gonna read it and then I'm not gonna be able to update you guys for a while because I just won't have the time and I won't be in a place to do that. But we're gonna try to get things done. I won't be reading right now because I have D&D at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna spend a couple of hours playing D&D with my friends, and I'm very excited. I do have to get a little bit of writing done today because I didn't do any yesterday, which is perfectly fine, but I want to get some done today. But other than that, I might do like some chores here and there, like wash the dishes or whatever, but like the rest of my time today, I am dedicating to. Oh, I didn't pick it up, it's on my thing behind me. The Amber Spyglass is what it's called, and like, oh, I am so excited to be getting into this book. So I will see you at some point. If I had it in front of me, I would check to see if this book has parts like book 1 or no parts like book 2. But either way, I will find a break in the book and update you when I get to that point. So I will see you guys then. Hello friends, it is about 10:30 in the morning on the 14th, and I'm about a third of the way through the Amber Spyglass, so I figured I would give you a little bit of an update. Basically, there's going to be a war, and on one side we have Lord Asriel and a bunch of people following him, and he wants to kill God. That's the long and short of it. God is the authority, and we learn that angels are made out of dust or dark matter or shadows or whatever you want to call it. And God was the first, because it's weird to explain, but like it's just matter, and matter calls to itself and eventually forms beings, and that's like the explanation we get. We're told that God was the first of these, and that's why he feels important enough to be God, but he didn't actually create anything else, it just came about naturally. Um, so Lord Asriel is like, I'm gonna kill God. And on his side, we have the Galavespians, or something along those lines, who are like small people with poison spurs in their legs, and they come from a different world that, like, when Lord Asriel, blew up the Northern Lights, it kind of ruptured all of the different worlds, all the different universes. And so these small people come from a different world, and they're going to help Lord Asriel. um, he also has a bunch of angels on his side, but not all of them. Two angels on his side are, what were their names again? They're these two gay angels, which was unexpected, but I love that. Balthamos and Barrack. Love wins, I guess, because there's just two gay angels hanging out. And on the other side of this war, we have the church that obviously doesn't want God to die. And Lyra was kidnapped at the end of book 2 by her mother, and she's trying to keep Lyra safe, but in order to do that, she has to keep her unconscious because Lyra hates her mother and would run away, and all this stuff is happening. People from both sides of the war are going after Lyra, Lord Azrael, because he wants to keep her safe, and the church because they want to kill her because she's part of this big prophecy. Will is also trying to find her, and he has this knife that can cut portals through the different worlds, and Lord Azrael also wants this knife. So, like, lots of moving pieces, and it's a little bit hard to keep track of all of it, but I'm still having a great time. I think this book is still on par with the first two. It's very chunky, which is worrying, but it seems to be reading quite quickly. So I have no doubts in my mind that I won't be able to finish this somewhat soon within the next couple of days, which would be great if I could finish this book and end this vlog before I go traveling. Best case scenario. I would love to do that. So I'm going to get back to reading this, and I will see you guys probably when I'm about 2/3 of the way through. Hello, friends. I have spent many hours reading today because it is still the 14th, and I'm now 2/3 of the way through The Amber Spyglass. Honestly, I kind of forgot that that was the name of this book until we are introduced to the Amber Spyglass in question. Then I was just like, oh, right. I wasn't even thinking about how that would play into things, but it's very interesting. And what else? We also learn 200 pages, or is it 300 pages? 200 or 300 pages, something, into the third book in this trilogy. We learn that her name is definitively pronounced as Lyra because someone calls her a liar, and then the narration, I guess, points out the similarities in Lyra and liar. And I'm like, well, it would have been cool if we had gotten that pronunciation guide in the beginning, because I kept waffling back and forth between Lyra and Lyra. It's not that big a deal, but a lot of things have happened. We have followed our protagonists into the land of the dead, which kind of wild, but it's really interesting. And they've got some stuff happening. There's like a couple of prophecies in the series, but there's a prophecy in book 1 that we are led to believe is fulfilled in book 1, but then at about halfway through this book, there's like a little line that says, and the prophecy that Lyra would do blah 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 came true, and I was just like, oh, that's clever. I thought that was really fun. And now stuff is happening with Lord Asriel, and there was a bomb that went off. I truly don't know how the last 160 something pages are gonna go, but I'm excited. I'm probably gonna finish this tomorrow, but also, like I said, it's not even 8 o'clock yet, and I might just spend the next couple of hours reading to finish this because it's really good, and I'm really excited to see how this series plays out. Who knows? I'm definitely taking a break from reading for a little bit. I gotta feed the cats. Probably gonna get some ice cream for myself and watch some YouTube, but after that, night is still pretty young, and I have no life, so I might just spend more time reading, even though that has been the majority of my day. But I am going to go now, and I will see you guys when I have finished this book and this series. Crazy. I'm looking forward to it. I will see you then. Hello. It is 12:30 p.m. Technically it's 12:26, but like it's basically 12:30 p.m. on the 15th, and I have finished reading The Amber Spyglass. This big chunky boy took me so little time to read. I was flying through it. I read so much yesterday. Didn't really do much else yesterday, but I read a lot, and that's perfectly fine. I think this is my least favorite in the series. It's still really good. I would say book 1 is a 9 out of 10, book 2 is an 8 out of 10, book 3 is a 7 out of 10. So like I still really enjoyed it, but I didn't absolutely love this one. There's a whole plot thread that I kind of just didn't care about, and that's we follow Mary, who is from book 2 is when she's introduced. She's from the same world as Will, which is like our normal world. And I understand why she went on the journey that she did, but I don't care about it. Like, anytime I got to her chapters, I was like, okay, whatever. I just wasn't as invested as I was in the other characters and what they were going through. And my feelings in the ending are quite similar in that, like, I understand why things ended the way they did. Like, it was a satisfying conclusion for the series that was built up. But personally, I was just like, I wanted a little something else from it. And I don't know quite what that something else is. Like, I can't really put it into words, but I just felt like the ending was fine, but missing something for my tastes personally, if that makes sense. Like, it was a great conclusion for what this series is, but my personal tastes don't exactly align with what happened. Yeah, I had a great time reading the series though. I just keep looking at this cover because it's so gorgeous. I don't know if I've shown you the covers like up close, but there's like constellation artwork in the background and on the big bold stripe. They don't line up. They're two different images, but they're both constellations. Like on the first book, you can see up here on the cover it says Ursa Major, which is fun because that's the big bear, and Yorick is a big bear. Yorick is still my favorite character. I love him so much. So good. Also, this book made me cry over the death of a character that I already cried about when he actually died in book 2. That's unfair that it got me again. Like, so rude. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this series, and I'm very glad that I read it. I have heard that the movie isn't great, so I probably won't watch that, but I might check out the miniseries. I think it's on HBO. I'm not sure. I'm hoping it is because that's currently the only streaming service that I have access to through my friend. Um, but I might give that a try at some point. Um, yeah, I think that's all of my thoughts. Yeah, I thought I had another one there for a second. I really like the artwork, is what I want to say, but I didn't know if I had already mentioned that. But like at the beginning of each chapter, there are these little squares of artwork, and I really love them. And there's one towards the end that I would love to get tattooed if I can find it. Actually, I think I remember the chapter it was in, so if I just look up what chapter it is. Page 403. Oh gosh, give me a second. Ah, this clip is getting away from me. This one. This artwork, absolutely stunning. I'm obsessed and I want it on my body forever. that is my closing thought about this series, about His Dark Materials. And so we've come to the end of this vlog. Be sure to comment down below if you've read this, if you've seen the movie or the TV series, your thoughts on it. I would love to know. But we've come to the end of this video, so if you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone!